of Baghdad College of Medicine, 2023. And today's session will talk about developing leadership and management skills for effective research and educational initiatives. This is presented by the Medical Education Committee from the RCP Iraq London Network. And the aim of this session is to build a strong foundation for leadership and management that will propel our research and educational endeavors to new heights. And the target audience are the healthcare practitioners who will the strong leadership and management skills are cornerstones to drive successful project and mission. So they're essential for every person. And Alawi is an Iraqi-American woman leader who has held higher positions in the US, including Vice President of the Global Health Division at Research Triangle Institute and adjunct professor at American University. Dr. Al-Moussawi was selected as one of the top 50 businesswomen leaders in Maryland, United States. And just to put you in the picture, today's session, the timeline will be 45 minutes. Professor Hala will talk about the developing leadership and management skills, and then will be 15 minutes for discussion, question and answer. And to establish ground rules, please mute your phones and speakers. And if you have any comment, you can write in the chat box. If you have any question, you can raise your hand. And my colleagues will post in the chat box registration link that you have to register in to issue your certificate. And let's enjoy this learning experience. Grab your favorite drink and let's enjoy this learning experience. Professor Hala, the mic is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So I shared my screen, I think. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. And thank you so much for joining this session. I'm really privileged to be here with you all to talk about leadership and management, which I believe very, very crucial in every field, in academia and research. And whether you are currently managing a project, research project, or leading educational program, or aspiring to take on such roles in the future, I believe you will enjoy some practices, some strategies, as well as practical skills that I would share with you. We'll cover a range of topics. We'll talk about leadership skills, management skills. We'll talk about key strategies important for leaders in academia and research to drive innovation, collaboration, and research. Of course, sustaining these initiatives. Let me move to the next question. Sorry. I'm moving the slide from the we'll dive into leadership skills, then the difference between both. We'll share with you some strategies, including some practical strategies from my experience, as well as experience of other teams across the world, working on educational programs, working on research, and working on global health programs specifically because global health security, climate change now more. So we'll share with you some case studies as well. We'll talk about teams. Cover the impact and importance of leadership and management. Of course, I will have time to respond to your questions, comments, and let's dive in. As I mentioned, the presentation today will cover these critical elements. My presentation will see many visuals added to the text here. Leadership in academia involves fostering innovation, creating positive work environment. It's very important for leaders in academia and research to manage these programs effectively and to have certain skills, which I will share with you, to ensure sustainability as well as success of these programs. So what are the key traits of academic leaders, including many traits, including visionary thinking? Leaders must have a clear vision for their projects. I also injected some statistics here from recent studies. So according to a study by the Center for Creative Leadership, 90% of successful leaders are characterized by their ability to articulate a clear vision. Having a clear vision is very important. This is what I tell my team. If you see it, you can do it. So it's very important to start with a vision. It's very important to start the other important trait, I believe this is very important trait, heard about it, the emotional intelligence is as equal as the intelligence. And ensuring that there is a supportive environment for the team to work collaboratively to achieve the results. %58% of performance in all types of jobs, including research and education. Resilience and adaptability is also very important. Leaders must be able to handle difficult tasks and challenges. We face challenges in our work, and we should be able to find solutions and to be resilient to come up with solutions and address work in solution-oriented and solution mindset, result-oriented and solution-focused mindset. Another study by American Psychological Association indicated resilient leaders are 50% more likely to succeed in high-stress environments. And now with technology, with so many tasks, we handle so many activities every day, we face challenges and we face stress. So we need to be resilient, and we need to also understand and be aware of some strategies to increase our resilience and adaptability. Here is another visual illustrating key leadership competencies. Like for any leader to have, a leader must have the ability to deal with challenges, focus on team needs as well as priorities, create community-owned plan for success, build external network and partnership. It's very important to understand the internal as well as the external priorities, needs, and challenges, and ensure that there is a good engagement with the stakeholders. Build trust, very important. As I mentioned, having a clear vision is important. Building a trust among the team, with the stakeholders, with teams, internal and external, is key to success of any program. Also, a leader should have a commitment to continuous improvement. Continuous improvement has been a very important concept in health, now in education and everywhere, ensuring that we have standards, we have indicators, we measure our to make any improvements as needed, and being very adaptive. Some key skills for leaders to have, you will see them in the visual that I created here for you, as well as in the text. First, and I order them the way I think it's of their importance, very important to be a good communicator. Effective communication is cornerstone of good leadership. Decision-making is another critical skill for any leader, and any leader should be able to make decisions. Of course, informed and collective decisions, being inclusive, very important in our decisions, being transparent, also base our decisions on evidence. So our decisions should be based on evidence and inclusive in an inclusive manner. Conflict resolution is another important skill for leaders, and leaders should address conflicts promptly and urgently. Adaptability is another skill that leaders must have and must be able to respond and address any changes, including unexpected changes, in a timely and equality manner. Empathy, another skill. We talked about emotional intelligence. Empathy helps leaders understand and address needs of their teams, also clients and beneficiaries and people we support. Strategic thinking is another important skill, and that involves long-term planning, setting goals, aligning these goals with the targets, with the indicators, having the ability to adjust these goals, based on the priorities, based on the challenges we faced. Another skill, which I believe very important skill, is negotiation skills, are very, very important for achieving win-win outcomes in any conversation or communication. And communication is reciprocal, like we need to be good communicators, but at the same time having negotiation skills where we can determine when we let go things, right? When we emphasize and prioritize the must do things, and making sure that the priority is for work, like for the overall goal and for the overall vision for the team. So we talked about leadership skills. What are the key management skills? Management skills are also crucial and vital for organizing resources, managing time, and ensuring smooth operations of research and educational project. For having technical skills, interpersonal skills, and conceptual skills are critical elements of overall management skills. Some of the essential management skills when you manage projects, whether research projects, whether other like development projects, if you work overseas or if you work with teams at the community level, it's very important to have essential management skills. First, project management skills. That includes planning, executing, closing projects, monitoring projects, having the ability to work with the team and partners, because you will have partners with you to plan and execute the plan, and having the ability to monitor the plan, having the ability to adjust the indicators and the deliverables according to the priorities and according to the challenges we may face, or any updates as we go. Resource allocation is another important management skills, ensuring optimal use of funds, equipment, resources, whatever resources needed. A study by McKinsey is a global consulting group, found that effective resource allocation can improve project performance by up to 40%. Time management is another management skills, very important for leaders to have a set calendar upfront, whether it's weekly, whether it's monthly, whether it's annual calendar, to manage your time effectively, and making sure that we have priorities, we have deadline, we have deadlines, as well as people in charge or people involved. So identifying who's doing what, identifying key deliverables from each task is very important. Research by American Management Association shows that effective time management can increase production by 25%. Conflict resolution is another skill. Addressing and resolving disputes or conflicts within the team is very important, and this is another skill for leaders. According to a Global Health Capital report, 85% of employees experience conflict at work, right? So this is normal in any setting. But effective conflict resolution, and this is the ability of the leader, can lead to 25% of improvement in team performance.
العفو دكتورة هالة، ما أعرف بس يمي هاي المشكلة part of the slide is covered. ده يصير يعني كأنما أكو فد triangles أو يعني مسافات مثل المستطيل بغير color shadowing the يعني the slide are not clear. مالي بس عندي هاي لو عند البقية أيضا. Are the
From my
slides
end,
are
it's very
clear؟
clear.
لا أستاذ، إحنا عندنا نفس الشيء، أكو مثل مستطيلات بالشاشة
مستطيلات
أستاذة.
تغطي السلايد بحيث جزء من عنده ما يكون واضح. دكتورة هالة
Oh,
ممكن توقفيني الشير ترجعين مرة ثانية؟
sure. I can. And if you think you can share from your end, because from my side, I see full screen, very clear. So I can stop share from
Okay.
this. Okay. Should I reshare again?
I
Yes.
will share it.
Okay. Yes.
إذا تكون واضح.
Yes, please.
واضح قدامكم share now.
أي ممتاز.
Okay. And it's clear for me as well. Sorry, I should have asked if everything is clear from the
أنا
beginning.
عبالي بس يمي
تفضلي
إحنا
فاين.
وصلنا يا سلايد هالة بس قولي لي بعد.
I think the slide after this one, the one after this one. Yes. Next. Next. Even font size from my end, it shows different font size, but that's fine.
Yes يمي الفون سايز غير شكل.
Yes. Presentation mode shows different font size. Okay. I think we reached the slide after this one. We talked about negotiation skills.
Now.
We talked about this one. Next, please. Next, we talked about conflict resolution. Yes, this one. This is another visual. It's leadership wheel. So we can just do enter. So you can have all the pieces ready. Yes. I'm a very visual person. And before I write, I draw things, then I put my ideas, then start writing. I believe now with technology, it's important to visualize, then verbalize. But anyways, so we talked about certain skills, and this is leadership wheel. So having skills in planning, budgeting is very important. Also, motivating the team, inspiring the team. This is part of empathy, emotional intelligence that we mentioned, aligning people. This is part of forming teams, making sure that as leaders, we provide them with mentorship. We provide them with a clear vision. We communicate with them our vision for the project. We also provide them with the support that they need as they do their work. Establishing clear directions. As I mentioned, communication is responsible for 85% of management problems. So it's very important to address communication skills. And even if we think that we have some gaps, we all need to improve on certain things. So we can take courses, we can read articles, we can train ourselves or seek training and mentoring on appear. So in any, so we say in business, if you you cannot measure what you can describe. So we describe roles, we describe authorities, we describe who's doing what, important to achieve results. Sorry, Dr. Hilal, I don't see slides.
Yes, Professor Hilal, slides السكرين ماكو عليها شير. أستاذ هلال.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry for the ما أعرف ليش اليوم ده يصير disconnection. هذا بعدنا نفس السلايد دكتورة هالة ولا اللي بعده؟
Yes. No, we can move to the next one. So I will be brief. Yes, next one. So this is more kind of, in summary, differentiating between leadership skills and management skills. So just focus on the words in bold. Leadership skills refer to abilities and qualities that enable an individual or leaders to effectively guide. So leaders guide, motivate, inspire, influence people. Management skills is more at the micro level, ability to effectively plan, organize, direct, and control resources. Not all managers are leaders. But we expect that all leaders should be good managers, right? So this is very important. Leaders can determine and diagnose. In medicine, we say diagnose, like this is a manager and this is a leader. And it's very important. Managers, they are more focused on the micro level and like details, like do this, do that. Managers usually tend to tell people what to do. Leaders inspire. They tell them the direction, they stay behind, they motivate them, they inspire them. Also, they influence and they make sure that everyone on their team have confidence, trust that the leader is behind them, supportive, and always there for them. Next. Communication, I think we talked about this one. Just maybe I can describe the visual here. Many types of communication: verbal communication, non-verbal communication. Listening is another way of communicating. Presenting, like public speaking, presentation skills. Writing is another way of communication. So we have different styles. For leaders, very, very important to be clear in communicating their messages, whether verbally and non-verbally as well, and has a huge impact on the team. So we need to be very sensitive in our non-verbal sensitive in addressing issues like, you know, the words that we use with our teams. Writing skills is very important for all leaders, for sure. Yes, next. Thank you. Yeah, we can just do enter, so we can. I think because I covered most of these points, I thought I share these visuals with you all. You will keep the slides with you. Feel free to use them in the future. We talked about problem solving. Like these are the key, let's say, areas or areas where effective communication would address. Problem solving, decision making, productivity, increase with a clear communication. Strong business relation, better control of issues in work. All we can achieve all this by effective communication. Next. Another important strategy, so now we are talking about key strategies for leaders to have decision making, and there are many models for decision making. And decision making starts with identifying the problem. So when we have a problem, we need to sit as a team, identify the problem, establish criteria for the problem, weigh these criteria, and generate some problems. So when you go to your leader, when you go to your manager, you go with the problem as well as with suggestions and solutions. Then for the team, led by the leader, evaluate the alternative, choose the best alternative, and decide as a team collectively what is the best solution. So one of the key strategies as well as the skills for a leader is to have the ability to make the right decision for the team and for the project. Next. Conflict resolution strategies, very, very important. It's very important when we face a conflict as we design or implement our research or any program, is to be able to identify the source of the conflict as the first step. Then communicating this clearly with the team, negotiating it, as well as identifying solutions for them. Creating a positive conflict solution culture is very important for long-term success and sustainability of our programs. Next. Strategic thinking is another strategy for leaders to have. Strategic thinking includes critical thinking. It's very important to be critical in our thinking. And by the way, critical thinking, strategic thinking, creative thinking, and systems thinking, now one of the soft skills. So when we hire people, we look at the soft skills, and the way we hire people now here at least in the US, we don't go by the regular interview thing where you look at the resumes. We give them a challenge, and we emphasize attitude. We emphasize the critical thinking and strategic thinking. So we give them a challenge, we give them a problem, and see how they think about it, whether they will address it positively, they will address it as a team approach. So it's very important soft skill for any leader and rising leaders, of course. Next. I think I mentioned this, adaptability and flexibility. I repeat this as a key strategy because it's very important. Being adaptive is one of the critical and important skills. Being adaptive is one of the, I believe, and this is from personal experience, being adaptive and resilient and flexible, one of the important skills and strategies for you to move in all directions, vertical, horizontals, and be able to adapt to any situation. Whether changing roles, whether changing organizations, whether changing projects, having this strategy and skill, I believe one of the key criteria to be successful in your career. Next. Negotiation skills, we talked about this one. I talked about it as a skill and as a strategy. So as a skill, to have and the strategy in our work as we implement our programs. It's very important to achieve, as I mentioned, win-win outcomes in any situation. Next. Motivating the team, inspiring the team as a leader. And in your questions, feel free to ask me questions about experience, about kind of some examples of how motivating the teams or through or by motivating teams we achieve outstanding results in conflict settings, in very difficult situations where we have either like pressing deadlines, or we have changing scope of work from the client, or we have issues and constraints relating to budget. First thing, I start with motivating my team. I start by asking the team why we are here, the purpose. It's very important to inspire them and to make sure that we are all on the same page moving forward. Next. Planning and organizing. If we don't plan, as they say, if you don't plan, you plan to fail, right? So planning is very important. Making sure we have a plan, we track the plan, executing the plan. So having a plan is important, having a strategy is important, but it's very important to implement this plan and to be able to monitor this plan, to be able to track our targets closely, and be able to adjust if needed. If you work at the community level, it's very important that you engage stakeholders, which we will talk about in the next slide or the following slides. Very important that, like when we work on research project or education program or any other program, so we think with like kind of inclusivity in our mind, like people who are involved and those who are involved indirectly, maybe indirectly. So maybe they are enabling, I call them enabling partner, or direct implementing partner, or could be supportive partner. So we need to think of like kind of mapping out everyone involved in our plan that could influence our work directly or indirectly, and make sure that they are addressed somewhere in our plan. Next. We talked also about resource, and RAM stands for resource allocation management. So resource education management, and this is a triangle where strategic planning, operational planning, and financial planning. So even if we have the best strategy and the best technical plan and strategy, without having operational plan to operationalize this strategy, and financial plan to make sure that if we don't have resources, we have alternatives, and we can allocate resources accordingly to make sure that we can continue and sustain the project should we face any issues in the future. And we need to keep in mind, there is no project without setbacks, no project without challenges, no project without failures. If everything is okay, then we have a problem. So we need to think upfront as we plan. We need to think. So when we design programs, usually when I start with a framework. So we start with a vision. Sorry, I think we lost the slides.
Yes, Professor Hilal, we've lost the slides.
Yes أنا آسف جدا internet connection اليوم ما أعرف what's happening but we try to now.
Yes, it's clear.
Excellent, excellent. We can move to the next slide, Dr. Hilal. Monitoring and evaluation, I emphasize that, and there are many frameworks for monitoring and evaluation. So nowadays, what we use in international development, we use something called MERLA, that's monitoring, evaluation, learning, and research. So research component added to the monitoring and evaluation, as well as learning. So what we do, so in this visual, you see the steps, key steps for monitoring and evaluation. I would like to emphasize the learning piece. So when we start a project, so we have our plan, we have our activities, we have the timeline, we have indicators, we define our deliverables, right? We define indicators for each activity or group of activities, indicators of success or indicators of progress. So we call them process indicators or impact indicators. We also determine or come up with lists of learning. I call them learning agenda. So learning questions, meaning, so we ask ourselves from the beginning, before we start the project, what are the key learning questions? Like then also come up with, in addition to our learning agenda, what are the research points? Like, you know, okay, we are implementing this projects, then what else? So we start with an outline for midterm. So first, like a quick or startup analysis for any project, rapid analysis, then midterm evaluation, then impact evaluation, even if it's training activity, research activity, any project. So we do this upfront, like at least a concept note for that. And that's now the kind of the term for monitoring and evaluation. It's kind of updated to MERLA in international world, at least. And there are many tools. It's huge. You know, you can be specialized in monitoring and evaluation and on. So it's a huge, it's very big sector, and it's very interesting sector, by the way. Next. Risk management, very important, and strong, successful, and effective leaders should be aware of risk. Risk that we may face should be aware of risk inside and outside them. And having a plan, usually with all projects, we start with sustainability plan in the beginning, and we start with risk management plan as well. So we come up with potential risks, as I mentioned, and mitigation and communication and containment plan. And I'm sure many of you either have been or still involved in mitigation plans for emerging infectious diseases or mitigation plans for infectious diseases, the way we did with COVID, for example. Many institutions came up with mitigation plan, including, for example, now what we do, virtual setup for our communication and learning. So this is one of the risk mitigation plan came from a challenge that was at that time a public health threat, COVID-19. Sorry, I'm not reading the text. I'm talking about kind of more overall experience. Feel free to, we'll share the slides, we'll share more resources, and definitely we'll be happy to respond to any question or comment. Next. Stakeholder engagement, I emphasize that one of the key strategies for any leader is to be aware of stakeholders involved, as I mentioned, whether directly or indirectly. Being a good communicator, meaning that you will engage your stakeholders actively, not passively, making sure that as we plan and as we design our activities, we map out stakeholders involved. We map out them at the community level, at the maybe you work more at the, let's say, government level. So you work at like whether vertical level across sector, across levels of let's say care, if it's health, like then facilities, or across sectors like education, health, transportation, environment, other sectors. So that's stakeholder engagement. Next. Continuous improvement, as I mentioned, this is one of the key models in health. And now I'm very happy to see this model is implemented in other sectors as well. By the way, it started with automation before moving to health. It started with Toyota. And we kind of use this model for HIV, tuberculosis programs, and maternal and child health programs. And there are so many quality improvement models. Many of you maybe heard of Six Sigma or lean models, very important for leaders. You get certificate and you get belts like white belt, yellow belt, blue belt, then advanced, let's say black belt. When you get this, means you are very advanced in quality improvement area. A very interesting area. We use it everywhere. Basically, it's having problem-solving mindset, a critical mindset. You have a quality improvement plan, quality improvement team where we assess every step and come up with solutions accordingly. Next. Building and leading a research team. So successful research team knows how to, or research leader, sorry, knows how to build and lead a cohesive team. Many strategies for building or for team building, strategic recruitment. It starts with recruitment, by the way. Before recruitment, the vision, back to the vision, and making sure it's clear about the needs, then clear about the descriptions. Then as I mentioned, if we see it, we can do it. If we describe it, we can measure it. Very important to ensure team dynamics. You know, we complement each other. No one can do it all, right? So we need to come up with a team that complement each other with certain skills and potentials. I always say people potentials. So maybe it's not in their resumes. Maybe it's not one of the things that they have done in the future, right? But it's the leader should have the capacity to see through people and predict and identify potentials. So based on the potentials, leaders build this capacity within the team. And oh, sorry, my voice is not clear. I see
نقدر نسمع. لا واضح صوتك.
Clear. It's totally clear.
Sorry, maybe Dhulfiqar. Mentorship, I talked about mentoring, and this is one of the key skills for leaders. For establishing successful team, a leader should make sure that there is mentoring there for the team. Diversity and
سوري هذا هم انقطع عندي النت. Shall I return back to the slides? دكتورة هالة تسمعيني؟ الو دكتورة هالة تسمعيني؟ لا 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 لا
think the same issue from my end as well.
سوري ما أعرف شنو قضية النت اليوم. سوري هذا أرجع أسوي sharing slides.
Yes, please.
أوكي هنا أو مشيتوا أكثر.
Yeah, I think no. We are done with this slide. We can move to the next one. I believe we covered this. Definitely here, this slide outlines the importance of leadership and management. So basically summarizes what I just mentioned to everyone here. So we can move to the next one. I want to make sure we have enough time for questions and answers. So the key impact of effective leadership and management, of course, it impacts performance, creativity, sustainable success for programs and the projects overall. Yes. Yes. Can you hear me, Dr. Hilal?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Yes.
Next slide.
Next slide, we can move to the discussion, and I'm eagerly waiting to hear your comments, your questions.
Thank you.
So
yes, thank you very much,
cover...
Professor Hala. And now we can move to the questions. If you have any, please write in the chat box or raise your hand. We have a question from Dr. Zainab Abbas. She is saying, I would like to know how to build our mindset into solutions instead of thinking about the problems.
Yeah, that's a great question. With time, definitely, like being aware of this is great, right? Being aware of this is an important area that you think it's important that you should have. It's very important. Being positive, thinking of solutions. So, you know, it comes with experience. Like, you know, as I mentioned, being aware of it is important. Even if you face a challenge and you think that you only think of the problems, try to always think of solutions, potential solutions. Talk to the team. Search for potential solutions. There is always a solution for any problem. But as I mentioned, this is a skill, and this is where you can get support from a mentor or a leader or a model, like a role model, how to think positively. Yes, I hope I answered you.
Thank you very much.
By the way, I'm happy to connect with you all if you have any questions, if you need any support in the future. So I'm happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mohammed, you can unmute your mic, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ali, for very nice presentations. I have questions that do you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I have questions that what you do, how you teach this for undergraduate or postgraduate students, because you know that if you want quality improvement in the health, because we are doctors, we are graduate, and they need to improve the care provided to the people. This definitely through project, through leadership, through managerial issues. So how you do what you need. And before I close the questions, I should tell you, and you know that these lectures need maybe 10 workshops, because every skills you mentioned is very, very essential, as you mentioned, Jan. So every skill need maybe 1 day workshop. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Great question. So I teach this course, one of the courses I teach here, medical students, graduate medical students, you know, those who finished medicine here and doing their masters in other fields. This is one of the fields I teach. What we do here, because you need experience, like I call it field experience, like being part of the team. So we do this in two ways. Through the rotation that you have, like when we send them or when we work with them at the facility level. We also have programs here, sharing and sending, like working with universities as well as research institutions in other countries. So we send the students to other settings where they face the challenges and they really discover some skills that they don't have. And also they get mentorship from leaders in the field. The other way, we do simulations. So I'm not sure if you have it, but this is something I can share with you, where it's all artificial intelligence simulations, where we put students. I started this session 10 years ago. We put students in virtual setup. You go to the room and you are challenged by people. Like you are challenged as if it's real life challenges. And there is a recording for kind of your actions and behaviors. So you receive a report, like you did this verbal communication you need to correct, you did this right, you need to improve this with time. But I would say it's with experience. Knowledge is important. So we need to read, we need to educate about ourselves about these terms, but at the same time, we need to practice. As we practice, we need to improve. And it's important to have a mentor. Always seek a mentor, and always, there are so many programs now for to address this. But it's a great question. Hello.
Okay, Sarah, okay, there are many questions. You are mute. Mic is mute, Sarah.
Sorry. Dr. Razhan, you can unmute your mic.
السلام عليكم دكتورة.
حبيبتي وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
دكتورة أول شيء thank you so much for putting us in your busy schedule. دكتورة, I have a question. Can you tell us about the difficulties that women face as a leadership, or it doesn't affect on her family in the future? And thank you. That's my question.
Right question. Yes. I will address the second point in your question, like how to do that. It's very important to make sure that you have a clear time management, I would say, skill. It's very important that you know how to manage your time, set priorities. There are many challenges we face as women, and in my experience or my journey, I face many challenges. Being resilient as a woman leader is very important. In the setting where I am now, there is huge empowerment for women. However, there are many challenges that we face. Having a plan, it's very important. Setting priorities, very important. Also, it's good to know kind of your strengths, like, and focus on them. Focus on areas where you have like team and resources to be successful. I would think of so many examples or challenges that I faced, but I was able to overcome by having a kind of solutions mindset and being adaptive to any problems.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mohammed Asad Mehdi has two questions. One of them is, what if your key stakeholder is a manipulator? How would you handle the situation? And the second one is, if your team members weren't experienced enough and one of them insists to make a voting system for critical decision making, what would you do, knowing it could ruin the project?
Yes. So let me for the first question, like having a manipulator stakeholder. Yeah, I mean, it's good that the first thing that you identify the problem, right? When we say stakeholder, if you see that this problem will impact the whole thing, you need to deal with it individually, right? So you need to deal with it and making sure that this manipulator or this behavior will not impact the project or the team, like overall team. Having transparent communication with that stakeholder, setting clear expectations from the beginning, setting clear kind of points, like in identifying the problem, making sure we talk about the problem. We don't kind of be shy of talking about it. It's also very important, but of course we need to keep and stay professional. It's important to start this by addressing the problem, communicating it with the stakeholder, there are certain or clear expectations set for both. Yes. What was the second question, Sarah? Sorry.
Aren't experienced enough, and one of them insists to make a voting system for critical decision making. What would you do knowing it could ruin the project?
Okay. Yeah, again, it's back to the teamwork, right? Sit as a team. Look at the and don't ignore the suggestion. Discuss the suggestion with them. Also discuss the impact on the team. Making sure it's clear not only to you and to the other person, but it's clear to everyone, and making sure that it's the final decision, like we are inclusive in our final decision in making like whether this is good or not good.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Jafar.
Great question. You know, emotional intelligence is something sometimes we have, but we don't know that we have. I call it like being able to read the room, to read between lines, to feel like being able to even change the setting. Like sometimes I go to the room with an agenda in mind, but I see the team in kind of different situation, being able to change, being able to address whatever based on the kind of as I mentioned, like read the room or read the situation. This is emotional intelligence, right? So you develop this, read about it. As I mentioned, شو نقول عنده ذكاء اجتماعي، صح؟ يعني شخص يعني يحس بالشغلة المقابلة ويعني يشوف من خلال الناس.
They can read about sociology عن الاجتماع، يعرفون أكثر عن الناس شلون تفكر.
نعم.
ممكن.
نعم بالضبط. هو انه واحد يعني يقرا شعور الاخرين ايضا. يعني مثلا يعني you come to the room, you see them يعني people are busy with something else. يعني okay, I don't talk about something that's not important or a priority at this point. That's emotional intelligence. يعني واحد يعرف كيف يوزن الوضع الحالي، يعرف شلون يقيم كيف يتكلم عن ماذا. نعم.
Yes, and other questions is related somehow. Dr. Al-Saleh Hussein is saying, what if one of your team is having anger issues or respect issues, like one of the nurses, technicians? What should we do?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Sarah? I missed like few.
What if one of your team is having anger issues, like the nurses, technicians? What should we do?
Yes. Again, this is conflict resolution, right? This is one of the skills for leaders to have. It's talking to like them separately, making sure you hear them, you listen, make sure that you address the issue. Sometimes there is, you know, don't ignore the problem. If you have an issue by any of your team members, listen to them, explain to them if you see things differently, because you know we come to things from different angles. يعني كل واحد يشوف الشغلة من جنبه, right? So you see my back, but I don't see but you don't see your back. So making sure that we have this mindset. طبعا هو الشغلة مو سهلة بالمناسبة، بس يحتاج لها يعني كليدر انه you create this mindset within the team. إذا عندنا احنا عندنا مشكلة خلينا نتكلم بيها ونتكلم. have to prove it. I should بلوها, right? So it's reciprocal. يعني أنا